Danielle, welcome to the Calm Mom podcast. So excited you're with us today. Woohoo! Thanks for
Me
being
too.
here.
Of course, it's so great to be here.
So we're gonna be we're gonna be talking a lot of things, I think, today. But you have a show called the Self Compassionate Professor podcast, and self compassion is one of my favorite things to talk and teach about. Not just from like this esoteric like woo woo kind of place, but also from like what is it, why does it serve us so well, right? What does it do to our brain chemistry? How does approaching things from a place of compassion open us up to learning and growth and evolution more than approaching ourselves from a place of criticism, or all of those things, right? There's so many reasons. And I can't wait to get into it. But before we do, I would love to hear a little bit about your story, because I know a lot of my audience and myself will relate to it in the sense of like, we're overachievers, we're high achievers, we're intellectuals, we're academics, we love to be in our head. And where did that kind of like lead you and to the work that you're doing now?
Yeah. So, deep breath here. It always takes a minute to like bring yourself back to the place. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I started burning out after I did all the things I was supposed to do for my career. I'd gotten the PhD, I'd gotten the tenure track job, I did all the things, and and then I had a baby, and I was like, ah, like that identity shift was not
Yes.
happening.
It's
And
tough.
I started feeling big time burnout.
Yeah.
And because I kept trying to go at the same pace
Yeah.
with the baby, like as if nothing changed. Like, oh, I
Right.
just have a little extra to do list over here.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I approached it.
Yeah.
And so I started down that burnout road. I started feeling really dead inside. Um, I would escape on Sunday mornings to the Starbucks that was near our house, and I would be there for an hour from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. and just like let myself do whatever it was I wanted to do, which was read
Mhm.
and write and just sit there and not do anything sometimes. And that was literally the only time I felt like I had to be with myself.
Yeah.
And then I started dropping the ball a lot. Like I forgot about a faculty meeting. I just didn't show up. I
Mhm.
had an awesome student who wanted me to write a letter of recommendation, and I just totally missed the boat. I like didn't
Yeah.
even see her email. And so these kinds of things were happening. But mostly it was just feeling dead inside and like trying to find the energy to just make it through my day. It was so awful. And so I found myself at Kristen Neff's
Mhm.
mindful self compassion retreat.
Mhm.
And you're nodding, Michelle.
I
Yes.
love her work.
I do too. And she's one of those academics who left academia as well. Um, and she did it from a place of self compassion. And so I was with her for a couple of days. This was at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. And it was just a short mini retreat. It was just 2 days. And I felt myself deeply, like deeply, in a way I had not felt myself before.
Beautiful.
And yeah, there was something in me that was alive, and I cried a lot. And I noticed that I had these desires for my life and my career that I wasn't, acknowledging. And yeah, so self-compassion is what allowed me to start like accepting myself, acknowledging what I actually wanted.
Mhm.
And I guess that's the story. Yeah, that's the story in a nutshell.
Wow. It's a beautiful transition. That takes a lot of courage. I can
Mm.
relate to so many parts of your story and how you feel, how you felt, and just kind of being in that place and all of the symptoms that come along with it, mental, emotional, physical. I'm really curious as you were sharing, what are some of the stories or paradigms that you really had to like unravel and reframe, maybe about yourself, your purpose, your worth, your identity, your giftings, like all of these different things to allow you to make that transition? Because for so many of us, who we are is tied up in what we do. And
Oh,
when we can take a step back, it's really scary to do that. And we have to like rethink a lot of these things.
yeah. Yeah. Right off the bat, two things come up. One is my job, my career. Um, I didn't. I I didn't want to do it anymore,
Yeah.
and I had built a life on that being the only thing that mattered. And so when you build your life on something that you think you want, but
Yeah.
if you really check deeply,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
don't, you built a life that feels pretty terrible. And so that is something I had to unravel and um, really understand. And one thing that happened to me, I remember going to a coffee shop on campus one day to do a little bit of work, and I had this image of my of my like building this house of cards, and it was this
Mhm.
huge tower, this thing that I had built, and it was so shaky, and I just imagined it, everything tumbling down, and I was like, this is my career. Like,
Wow.
I have spent so much work, I've spent so much effort, I've spent so much time, I like all my mental capacity, everything is going into this, and it doesn't even matter. Like, I don't even have a foundation for it. So I remember that happening and having to unpack that. And then I had to go teach a class immediately after I'd had that image and that, um, that sort of trying to show up and be composed and actually like care about the content that I was teaching. It was so hard and
Yeah.
so awful. So that was one thing. And then the other thing is just, parenting. Like, being
Yeah.
a mom was just um like I started realizing that I had never taken time to integrate this new identity. I'd never ever taken any space to really understand who I was
Yeah.
now. And um I had this little person who I would shrug off a lot, like, she's got to get some stuff taken care of, and then I got to get to work.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that anymore. It was painful to do that. And so I was trying to sort of figure out how to be a new mom, or how to be a mom for the first time, even though by then I had like a 2-year old. Um, so, yeah, those are the things that were shifting and changing as I was going through this weird, scary transition.
It's so hard. It's so hard. And like for anyone listening that that can relate and has ever had the thought of like, maybe I'm not cut out for this, maybe it's like, no, you are cut out for this. It's just really stinking hard. And we just have to like reframe so much of it. And I I had a similar experience, and I also remember two things. One, I remember people telling me how hard marriage was. And I didn't really get it because my husband and I, like, he worked at restaurants. I was in law school, and it was like, awesome. Like, this is so easy being married. Like, we go to dinner at 11 p.m. and we sleep until noon, and like being like, we're best friends. This is so easy. And then we had our first child, and I was like, oh, this is what they were talking about. It brought up so much. And then the second side of it was like, holy moly, did I take every like pregnancy, childbirth, welcoming home a baby course that like exists under the sun. And I was so ill equipped for like the depth of the transition. Like, I don't like the bottles, who cared? You know, the bassinet, who cared? But like the way it would just rock me to my core, it completely blindsided me.
I feel so good hearing you say that, because like, I was never the one reading all the books and listening to all the podcasts, and like, I was just like, oh, I got to get this thing done. I don't know. I think I want to be a mom. And so it's nice to hear that you still had that experience. Like, cause I think there's a lot of like self-blame. Like I should have done it better kind of thing.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so much of it is um culturally we're just not preparing women, right, for that transition in a way that's effective, frankly, or helpful. Because I think part of it is we don't want to be a downer, right? I have like so many women in my family and community that get pregnant and everyone's like, it's the best. Like, you don't want to be that person that comes up and is like, oh, just you wait. Like, you don't want to be that downer. But I'm also like, hey, this is going to be the best thing ever. And let me also like give you some real talk for a minute because no one else is going to do it. And then I think there's so many facets to it, but I think there's also so much pressure to like be able to do it all. Like, I took my newborn back to the office at a few weeks old and I'm like trying to nurse her while I'm like on the phone trying to settle lawsuits. I'm like, and I thought in my head, I was like, this is something to be proud of. Like, you're a rock star. And little did I know, it was the same as you. That was just a foundation of cards waiting to collapse because it's not sustainable. Like, I was faking myself out. I think that I could do that.
Totally.
Okay, so I want to talk about self-compassion because it's so important in light of all of this and even so much of the bigger picture of our own personal journeys. For people listening who don't really have a good grasp on what that even looks like, or maybe they think it's like, oh, I'm going to be soft on myself or letting myself off the hook, or if I'm, compassionate with myself, like I'm not going to have any motivation anymore, or whatever stories like people tell themselves about it, why they're hard on themselves. What's your take on self-compassion? What is self-compassion? How does it show up?
Um, I see it as welcoming everything, welcoming
Ooh,
your emotions, all of your emotions, everything, welcoming all of your desires.
yeah,
I'm thinking about Dick Schwartz, internal family systems. I'm like honoring all your parts,
yep,
honoring your body,
yes,
just welcoming everything. Everything gets to be there.
yeah,
And I think that had I practiced self-compassion better when I had a baby, I would have welcomed my mom part or my mom identity.
yeah,
But I wasn't. I was like pushing that part away. And so it's welcoming yourself fully and it's holding yourself. So
mm,
holding yourself like Kristen Neff talks about with like your own hands, like placing your hands on your chest and
yeah,
feeling that pressure and feeling that warmth and letting yourself surrender into it. Like, this is a really hard moment and I'm just going to let myself be held by it. And so it's this sort of like taking refuge in yourself
mm,
through physical gesture or through the words you say or through, Kristen Neff talks about common humanity, through just knowing that you're not alone. One of the things I like to do is just imagine myself holding hands with all the other moms who are struggling in this moment.
oh wow,
You are not alone and you can surrender into this group of women. You
yes,
are not alone and you can surrender into just this journey of motherhood that is so freaking hard.
yeah.
So yeah, self compassion. I see it as welcoming everything and then holding yourself in
Mm.
various ways.
Yeah, okay, I love that. Let's talk about the first part of it because what was kind of coming up for me as you were sharing is that I would imagine it takes a certain level of self trust to be able to welcome all those parts of you, all of the emotions,
Yeah.
and know that it's safe to do that. It's okay to do that. There's so many emotions that we're patterned, I think, and conditioned to just avoid and repress and suppress because they either feel scary or inappropriate or whatever. The wheels are going to fall off if I allow myself to be angry. I'm just going to be this psycho for the next 20 years or whatever we're scared of when it comes to our emotions. Talk to me a little bit about that and maybe even your journey through like trusting yourself to hold all of these things and embrace and accept them.
Okay, so what comes first for me is I'm thinking about meditation and how I had a friend who once said, yeah, I tried to meditate, and every time I meditated, I kept thinking about this really traumatic time I had when I was little.
Yeah.
And so, like, lots of really hard things come up when you meditate. So self-compassion allows you to like hold yourself through the hard stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I would say, like, let's imagine you have like a big fear,
Yeah.
and rather than just like pushing it away like you probably want to do,
Yeah.
take some time, just sit with yourself and let yourself feel the fear and
Yeah.
just feel it fully. Like
Yes.
feel where it is in your body, notice its color, notice its texture, notice, just let it be whatever it is,
Yep.
and sit with it and let
Yep.
it change and watch the changes come up and just let it be there. And the best part about it is you're like, oh well, I guess it's not as bad as I thought, right? Like
Yeah.
I totally felt the fear. I guess that's not the best part about it. The best part about it is you'll often get a message from your fear that's like, postpone this meeting or do something really tiny that you can
Yeah.
just do, um, that makes you feel so much better and more whole and less fearful.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just this one little thing the fear is trying to tell you. So just give it space to talk to you.
Mhm.
Hold yourself through it. If it
Mhm.
feels really hard, right? Just keep your hands on your chest or wherever you feel the fear. Feel it and then see if it has a message for you.
Oh, that's it. Like this is the bread and butter of what I teach.
Mm,
So much of what I do with my one-on-one clients, and it's what we do in our group program, Restore. And um, it can be scary to do a lot of those things, especially at first. And we don't have to do it. Like for example, you can set a timer for 30 seconds,
yeah.
right? And sit down and be like, all right, I'm going to vocalize and experience and like find where this fear is in my body and try to connect with it and see what it's trying to send to me for 30 seconds. And then maybe in a few days, right? When your amygdala is like, oh my gosh, we didn't die. We're okay. The alarm doesn't have to sound as big, as loud next time. Maybe you can do it for a minute and then a minute and a half, right? And then we like kind of titrate that experience where it's not overwhelming to our nervous system, but it's so nourishing and it's so healing. And it's counterintuitive to what we think. We're like, well, I don't want to feel that fear, so I'm not going to feel it. And what's so fascinating is that when we have the courage to feel it, it will start to dissipate because it's being attuned to, right? And its
Mm,
message is being sent. And it's like, that loud toddler trying to get your attention. If you ignore it, it just gets louder. So if we can,
mm-hmm.
crouch down to its level and be like, hey, okay, making time. What is it you've got for me? The message is shared. And then it opens up so many different parts of your brain, and you're so more connected to yourself. You're more connected to others. And then you can go about your life really, without being weighed down by so many of these things that we're ultimately trying to avoid.
Yes. Yes. You're living fully. You're not dead inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. Something else that I love to teach about, especially with like high achievers, and the women who are professional doers, like they're the ones who can get all the stuff done. They love their planner. So do I. They love their like to-do lists. They're the ones that, are running the PTA or picking up all the extra stuff. And so much of the healing journey, specifically from burnout, I think, is really one, growing in awareness of how much we're wired to just do stuff and all the shoulds that we have tied to all the stuff we do. And how can we transition to more being and less doing? After all, we are human beings, right? Not human doings. So I would love to hear your take on that and maybe how you help teach women around breaking that pattern of doing and all the shoulds and the busyness into more patterns of just stillness and being.
Mm. Yeah, I love this question. And immediately I want to just rest in my body.
Mm.
Because I think that's what it is. I think that you can, because I have this really like overgrown capacity to avoid things and just not do
Yeah.
it. Like
Sure.
I'll just push it away.
Yeah.
Um, and then I can also do the other thing, where I just overdo it. But I think that like the nice, and if you think about self-compassion, it's like the middle ground. It's like you're not totally
Mm.
indulging, you're not totally avoiding,
Yeah.
but you're also not on the other side, just like forcing yourself to do everything all the time and denying all your needs. You're
Right.
like somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And in that place I think you can do and be at
Yeah.
the same time. And I think of it as resting in presence. Like I can
Ooh,
just be
okay.
here with you,
Yeah.
resting in my body, resting in just what's here. Like, this is what I have, right? And just reminding yourself that you can rest.
Yeah.
Even when you're in the middle of something. Like, I don't have to like load the dishwasher like a crazy person.
At warp
Like, I can
speed.
just
Dude.
I can very easily just put the dishes in
Yeah.
and feel and feel myself rest into it. Like, you
Yep.
really can like melt into the experience. You
Yeah.
can.
You
But that's not to say you shouldn't. That's not to say like overschedule yourself and then just rest in everything. Like, still
know,
draw the boundaries.
yeah. And what I'm hearing in that is almost like it's like a consciousness, right? Am I aware? Am I mindful of the pace with which I'm living or the
Yeah.
reason why, right? Like if everything is a hurry all day long, am I even aware of that? Or is that just how I go about everyday life and then wonder why, I'm beat by 3 p.m. or, whatever it is.
Amen. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, I want to hear your take on our paths getting fogged up. I think we talk a lot about brain fog. I feel like fogginess just in general is like can come in waves when we are dysregulated or burnt out or whatever life, right? What's your take on that? And I want to hear a little bit about it.
Yeah. So okay. So you can get. So I think of inner wisdom as
Mm-hmm.
something that needs space.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you think about Dick Schwartz's work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Internal family systems, parts. Sometimes your parts that are holding this trauma want you to do certain things,
Yes.
right? Like, you have to do this. You have to get full professor. You have to do this. You have to do that. You have to go to this conference. Just, there's no doubt about it. You have to, right? And
Yeah.
so I think of it as like being fogged up by your trauma parts talking very, very loudly, and then you just following sort of their voices
Yeah.
and their direction. Um, and I also think of it as being fogged up by like external forces. You should do this. This is culturally appropriate, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so the way to sort of separate from all of that and sort of defog from all of
Mm-hmm.
that is to just give yourself space regularly so that you can
Mm-hmm.
tap into your inner wisdom, so you can hear your inner wisdom. So in the same way I was talking about before, where like just feel your emotions, feel your fear, like in the
Yeah.
morning, wake up and just feel your humanness. Like, what does
Yeah.
it feel like to be me right now? Oh, I have this in my chest, and I have this going on, and da, 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 da. And so just let yourself sit there in that for a minute or whatever, 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're done with that, just start giving yourself a little bit of silent time
Mm-hmm.
and ask your inner wisdom, what do you have to tell me? What do you have to tell me? And see if it has any messages for you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I'm thinking of it. Like, you can really easily get fogged up if you don't ever give yourself space to really hear what your deepest desires are.
Yes. I love that so much. I actually, it's probably been a couple of years now, but I just started my morning before I even get out of bed, usually before I even open my eyes. Like as soon as consciousness hits, I'll just do a body scan laying down and
That
just
sounds
attuning,
awesome.
right, to everything. And then it's the same thing. I'm like, all right, Michelle, like, what do you need today? And sometimes it's like, we're ready to hit the ground running. It's going to be a 5 a.m. hit workout and a smoothie and like a shower and a full day of podcast interviews. And sometimes it's like, I actually need to go back to bed. And I just close my eyes and go back to sleep. But you have no idea just honoring your body and your body's wisdom and making that a practice, how healing and nourishing that is and how it then like bleeds into everything else all day long. So I love that so much. When you talk about making space, I think for a lot of people that are, new to this work or this world, they're like, what is that? Let's like this nebulous term. Like, what does that even mean to make space? And there's
Yeah.
so much, so many different kinds of space I think we can create for ourselves. So tell the people what you mean by creating space and like practically how they can go about doing that.
Okay. I mean, I think the first word that comes to mind is going inward.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go for a walk, don't listen to a podcast.
Yeah.
When you, I don't know, when you do whatever it is you're doing,
Yeah.
try to stay in tune with your body. Try to
Mm-hmm.
stay in tune with your psyche. Stay in tune with what's going on with yourself, and
Yeah.
just stay inward. I would say, I go to this Quaker church here, and and everybody's always fascinated by what Quakers do. But you go in and you sit down for a full hour, and that's worship. So you just sit down, total silence. Nobody
Wow.
says anything for a
Wow.
full hour. And
Wow.
then after that, people start naming the things they're grateful for, or naming the things that came to them while they were in silence. Like, this is this kind of thing. Like, if you can go to a Quaker church, I recommend it. It's
That's
amazing.
beautiful. Wow.
So that's another way to create space. And even if you just have people that you can be in silence with, like, you can be connected in silence. We don't do that ever.
Yeah.
But if you have somebody you trust enough, or a group of people you trust enough, why don't you just hang out together and maybe even do a relational meditation and be like,
Mm.
I'm feeling this in my chest right now. And then silence, silence, silence. The other person says, I'm feeling this in my fingers, or I'm feeling anger. Silence, silence. Like, you can create space within yourself by going inward, but also with other people. And it's such a
Oh,
connected experience. It's lovely.
how cool. I've never even heard of that, a relational meditation. That's awesome. And yeah, and within that, I think also it's like you can't do any of this stuff if your schedule is booked, right? Back to back events, meetings, whatever, all that stuff. You can't do any of this stuff if all the notifications are going off on your phone and email and social media. You can't do any of this stuff. If you know what I mean, like you have to create like physical space,
Yeah.
time space, energetic space, stimulation space. Like I don't even know if these things make any sense, but you know what I'm trying to say? Like
Yeah.
still all of it. And then you'll have the space to do this inward space kind of work.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Self
Um,
check in, self check in, self
I'll
check
check in.
in, over and over and over and over and over. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I actually had someone message me today that's in our group program, and I was checking in with them because we're halfway through this cohort, and I was like, what's been the biggest help to you so far? What's resonated the most? What's like made such a difference so far? And she's like, the biggest thing so far has been the mindset shift for me, that connecting with my body doesn't have to be like a 30-minute routine in the morning, all or nothing thing. It can just be like 30 seconds while I'm loading the dishwasher, or, 20 minutes while I'm just driving the car anyway, turn everything off and just really connect with what's going on with my body. And that's so much of what I'm hearing you
Yeah.
teach about too. Yeah.
Totally.
Okay. So I guess as we start to wind it down, I want to hear a little bit about, kind of the beginning. Like you went to this retreat with Kristen Neff, and there was this big kind of like awakening maybe to yourself. And I think for people listening, it can be easy for them to sit here and be like, well, that's good for her. Like, I'm like, cool that she was just able to, transition everything and heal and do, or whatever. I don't know, whatever people think. But this is a process, and it doesn't
Yes.
happen overnight, and it's a journey. And would you tell us some of the things that were like the hardest when you started to have this new awareness, the things that you really had to fight for consistency on, the things that you really had to continue to reframe, the old patterns and stories that were showing up, and kind of what really started to make a difference for you as you kept with it?
I First thing that comes up is, I told you I have this capacity to indulge.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you're thinking about self-compassion, you can be like, oh, I'm not going to do it because I'm trying to take care of myself. And that's not necessarily something that everybody deals with. But for me, based on like my very particular sort of patterns and what I grew up with. My mom
Yeah.
was always the kind of mom that was like, "Oh, sweetie, I'm so sorry. Oh, it's so bad. Just cry, let it out." And so for me, it's about like not indulging
Mhm.
completely
Yeah.
and realizing that I'm not showing up for myself, even though I tell myself I am.
Yeah.
I'm not showing up for myself often if I just sort of give up and quit and do the thing
Yeah.
and, not do the thing.
Yeah.
So that's an important piece, I would
Mhm.
say.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know where else am I going here? What is the question again?
I think just in those early days of this new awareness of like, I don't want to live like this anymore. And I believe that there's something different and bigger for me that's more sustainable and just richer.
Yeah.
What did the early days of that look like? What were the changes in maybe some of your habits or thinking or routines that really helped?
Um, Meditation. So
Okay.
that's a place where I would self-discipline. So
Hmm.
you've got the overindulging, but then you've got the discipline.
Yeah.
And I would force myself to meditate for 45 minutes every day. And this is what I was going to do. And this is how it's going to happen. And I was going to get
Yeah.
mad if I could hear my daughter and my husband in the other room because I was meditating, dang it. And so it was like letting go of like, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be
Yeah.
all or nothing. You can do things in the middle. Like
Yeah.
this morning I woke up and I felt really, really tired. And I usually get up and do a meditation pretty soon after I wake up. And today I was just like, I'm so tired. My
Yeah.
body was just telling me to lay down. And so I lied down to do the meditation. So I guess it's that middle ground, right? Like showing up, continuing to show up, but show up in a
Yeah.
way that's still honoring your needs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Self honoring is almost always self serving, right? It's like it's
Mm,
serving us best. So
yeah.
I love that. I think that's a beautiful kind of end to the little loop here.
Yeah. And
Um,
I guess I'll just end also by saying like
yeah.
it is such a journey. It is such a journey. And
Yeah.
all you have to do is show up every day and do a little tiny piece of the work. That's
Yep.
all you have to do. And you don't have to be like, I want to get there. And it's just like, it's just too much. It's too hard
Yeah.
to even hold that right now. So just think about now and what you can do to show up for yourself in self compassion now. And then that will lead you to where you need to go next and where you need to go next and next and next. And it doesn't need to be this like hard, horrible process. It can just be a journey that you accept and embrace.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yes. I could not endorse that anymore. That's so beautiful. Okay. Let everyone know where they can find you, where they can learn more about your work. Um, we'll link everything in the show notes, but let everyone know where you're at.
Yeah. So if you are an academic who is having a full on career crisis
Mhm.
and you want to make space for career wellness, I have monthly coffee chats. So you can just go to selfcompassionateprofessor.com and click on coffee chats and sign up for whatever ones you want to come to.
Cool.
And we truly make space. Some of that relational meditation we'll do there, and other things, right? You bring whatever it is you're struggling with, and we'll make space for that and listen to you and ask you questions. And we're not going to give you advice.
Yeah.
We're just going to listen to you and ask you questions and tell you how you're impacting us. And so it's a lovely way to connect to other people and feel not so alone in your
Yeah.
career wellness struggle.
Wow.
Again, selfcompassionateprofessor.com. And I
Wow.
guess
What a
that's all
great
I'll say for
resource.
now.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing not only your wisdom and your story, but even just your energy. It's been like so great to have you on the show. So thanks for making the time.
Thank you, Michelle. And you're going to be on my podcast here in just a minute.
Yes, you guys will have
Woohoo!
to listen to this episode and then pop over and listen to me on Danielle's show.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
So good. All right. Thanks again.